Man, something just went down in NASCAR that honestly made me stop everything and think, hold on, are we maybe looking at this whole situation the wrong way? If you've been keeping up with the sport lately, you know there's been nonstop noise, heated debates, criticism, and people openly questioning whether certain drivers even deserve to be out on the track. For a while, every time this topic came up, it only seemed to throw more gasoline on the fire. But then, in one single moment during a test session, everything kind of hit pause. Not because of a big win, not because of a massive wreck, but because of something far more revealing. And suddenly, the entire garage, the fans, the veterans, everybody is starting to look at this story a little differently. I'm telling you, this might not seem like a massive deal on the surface, but it could end up carrying a lot more weight than anyone expects right now. So stay with me on this one. And real quick, if you're a real NASCAR fan like I am, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're just getting NASCAR Nation Report started and we're pushing hard for that first 10,000 subscribers. It really means the world to have actual fans riding along with us. Alright, let's get into what actually happened. We're talking about Cleetus McFarland, the YouTuber who's been thrown straight into the deep end of stock car racing and hasn't had the smoothest path so far. This moment took place during a serious test session at Rockingham Speedway while he was working with Childress Racing. This wasn't some easy, laid-back run either. We're talking nearly 10 straight hours behind the wheel. That's physically draining and mentally exhausting, the exact kind of long grind where mistakes usually creep in and things fall apart. Late into one of those long runs with the tires completely worn out and almost no grip left, the car suddenly snapped loose right in the middle of the corner. That's the exact kind of moment where inexperienced drivers tend to lose it completely. Normally the car spins, slams the wall, and the criticism gets even louder. But this time he saved it. Quick hands, zero panic, no wild overcorrection, just pure control. He caught the car, kept it away from the wall, and kept rolling like it was nothing. By itself, sure, it's just a clean save. But in this specific context, it feels like a real statement, because we can't forget how we even got to this point. Cleetus didn't sneak quietly into NASCAR. His leap from YouTube stardom into actual competition, first in the ARCA Menard series and then stepping up into the Truck series, has easily been one of the most talked about and debated storylines in the garage. We all saw the early struggles. There was that crash during testing, then the incident at Daytona during his truck debut, and that's when the veterans really started speaking out. Denny Hamlin questioned whether he actually had control of the car. Brad Keselowski criticized the approval process. Kyle Busch pointed straight at the experience gap, and when drivers of that caliber start talking, people pay attention. So even after he signed a limited schedule deal with Childress Racing, the narrative never really shifted. The same question kept hanging over everything: is he actually ready for this level? And that's exactly why this moment at Rockingham matters more than it might appear at first glance. Because for the first time in a real high-pressure situation, he showed something that you simply can't fake in NASCAR: genuine car control under stress. Not in clean air, not on fresh tires, and not on a perfect lap. This was on worn-out tires after hours of fatigue on a tricky track, the exact conditions where rookies usually get exposed. And he was. Now, did this one save suddenly silence all the critics? No, not even close. The second the clip went online, reactions split right down the middle. Some fans immediately called it real progress, especially when you stack it up against his earlier crash at the same track. Others stayed skeptical, saying one save doesn't wipe away a short resume full of mistakes. And honestly, inside the garage, the vibe feels pretty similar. It's not sudden hype. It's not full-blown approval. It's more like a collective pause, like people are saying, maybe there's something here, but we need to see a lot more. And that leads us straight into what's coming next, and this is where the pressure really starts to crank up. On April 4th, he's back at Rockingham Speedway again, but this time it's not just a test. This time it's his official debut in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Now everyone's watching closely because in this sport, potential can get you in the door and grab attention, but only consistency earns real respect. So this moment didn't flip the entire script overnight, but it definitely shifted something. It made people stop, take another look, and maybe start rethinking what this whole story could actually become. And as a fan, that's what makes this situation so fascinating right now. We might be witnessing the exact moment when the narrative begins to change, or the moment when reality comes crashing back down. We're about to find out. So what do you think? Was that save strong enough to show real progress, or is it still way too early to start believing in this journey? Drop your honest thoughts down in the comments. I really want to know where you stand. My personal take is pretty straightforward. This moment matters, but maybe not for the exact reason a lot of people think it does. What Cleetus McFarland did at Rockingham doesn't suddenly prove he belongs at the highest level of NASCAR. One save isn't nearly enough to erase all the previous mistakes, crashes, or the obvious lack of experience we've already witnessed. At the same time, you can't just dismiss it either, because that kind of car control in that exact situation after that many hours in the car on completely worn tires, that's not luck. That's instinct starting to develop. That's a driver getting more and more comfortable right at the limit, and that's precisely what makes this moment interesting. I still believe the criticism coming from guys like Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Busch is completely fair. NASCAR is not a series where you can learn everything from zero. The competition level is too high and the risks are very real. But I also think this is the first time we've actually seen tangible evidence of progress instead of just raw potential. For me, this changes the conversation. It moves us away from "he doesn't belong here" and into "okay, let's see if he can actually back this up." Because now the expectations have shifted. It's no longer just about the hype, it's about consistency. If he shows up for that Xfinity race, keeps the car clean, runs solid laps, and stays out of trouble, then people will finally start taking him seriously. If he doesn't, then this save will probably just be remembered as a brief flash in the pan. So yeah, this didn't prove everything, but it proved just enough to make April 4th feel a whole lot more important than it did before. And if you enjoy real, honest NASCAR talk like this, no sugarcoating, just fans talking straight racing, then make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to NASCAR Nation Report. We're building this channel from the ground up and chasing that first 10,000 subscribers. Having real NASCAR fans in this community makes all the difference. Alright, now all eyes are on April 4th because that's when it really starts to count. No more test sessions, no more what-ifs, and no more benefit of the doubt. This is the moment where Cleetus McFarland has to go out there and prove that what we saw in the test wasn't just a one-time reaction but the beginning of something real. And as fans, this is exactly why we watch this sport, to see if a driver can rise up when the pressure is on, to see if the story actually changes or if it stays exactly the same. We're about to find out.